Jen here with a layout to celebrate Crafty Maggie, who has been on YouTube for 10 years now. So we're having an anniversary hop to, celebrate her and that big accomplishment. That's a big milestone. And she created a recipe for us to follow. So that is what we're going to do. So let me share with you what the recipe is. And then that way, if you want to play along, you are welcome to join in and use the recipe too. So I did show you at the beginning of the video if you want to, hit the pause button quickly and just write it all down. But let me tell you what it is as well so that you have it, that you can write down from me saying it too. So first thing to do is pick either a layout or a sketch that Maggie's created, and you're going to use that as your inspiration for the design of your layout. Then you want at least 2 stamps, at least 3 photos, at least 4 pattern papers, at least 5 buttons, at least 6 embellishments. Number 7 is to use 6x6 or 6x8 papers. Number 8 is to use 1 stencil. Number 9 is to use 9 enamel dots or sequins. And then number 10 is to use an embellishment glaze or paint. So that's what I'm doing here. So the first thing I did was pull out the papers that I wanted to use. I went into my How to Kill a Kit with Style kit, which is based on an older collection. That's what the theme is for this quarter. So lots and lots of older papers that you see in there. I actually pulled out the paper that is the oldest one that I could find in my stash from 2007, but I decided not to use that paper. So I popped it back. I just felt like when I was reading all of the elements and kind of, trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do and how I was going to put this all together, I thought that everything was going to get a little bit too busy and I would probably end up covering up that paper a little bit too much. And at this point, I'm kind of thinking, I know I said it was going to be a bit of a challenge for me to try to go ahead and use it. It's not really my style, and it's obviously been sitting in my stash for a reason for all this time. But I think I want to play up the fact that it's the oldest stash of my paper. So maybe do some sort of scrapbooking layout, maybe documenting, something to do with my stash, something like that, and just hyper focus on it being the oldest thing I have. Maybe not the oldest thing I have, but the oldest I could find. So I just put that back and decided to go with a few other things. So at the beginning of the video, I also showed you the sketch that I'm using. And when I found this piece of paper, I thought it kind of works with the sketch. The sketch has this really kind of interesting shape to it that's plopped down kind of right in the middle of the 12x12. And so this shape kind of gave me that same feeling, the way that the colors are blocked on that piece of paper. And so that is what I went for. And I have to say, I'm kind of proud of myself. I'm going to take that moment to share that, because I actually put that piece of paper, it's a Studio Calico paper, I put it in there fully intending to use the other side of the paper, which was the obvious kind of easy choice cop-out side of the paper, because it's just white paper with black circles. Very, very simple, very neutral, very good as a, almost white background with just a really simple pattern to it. It was the safe bet. And that's why I put it into my kit, because I felt like I needed a few just really plain safe backgrounds. And here I am pulling it out using the side that I definitely did not ever see myself using. So kind of proud of that. And then I'm also really proud because these other papers that I'm using right now and I'm cutting up, they are really old. These are all from 2013, 2011. Like, they're old papers. I've got some basic gray in there and some SEI and just like old stuff. Oops, I cut my little banner wrong there. That's okay. Now it just looks like an arrow. We'll make it work. Do you ever do that when you're on a roll and you think you know what you're doing and you're, in your head, you're not even double checking because you just know that what you're doing is the right thing and then you realize you cut it wrong? Yep, that's me. Anyways, I'm proud of myself because I pulled out all of these papers. I made them all work together. And I sort of committed right from the very beginning that this was going to be a more is more layout. And I know you guys have been taking this journey with me of really trying to explore the less is more side of scrapbooking and really embracing and appreciating not having to overcomplicate a layout. And I do still really enjoy doing that. But again, looking at that recipe and I, really wanting to challenge myself to get everything from the recipe. I don't think it's a very kind of complicated recipe. But there's a lot of elements and definitely you could overlap on a lot of these elements. So when it says at least 4 pattern papers, that is a combination of the, any 12 by 12 papers you might be using and the 6 by 8 or 6 by 6 papers. So you can overlap the elements of the recipe, but I had a lot of fun pulling them all out of the kit and I didn't overlap as much as I could have. So it definitely is a layout that I knew right from the beginning was going to have a lot of elements and a lot of stuff going on. And I definitely think if you're going to do a layout like that, where you are putting everything but the kitchen sink on it, and you're mixing lots of patterns and designers and just like feels and colors and stuff, go for the more is more. Just have fun. Just, add it all in there. And so that is what I did with this. So this, again, is one of those layouts that is just kind of different for me and not something that I would say is very typical of what I do, but I really enjoy doing it. And I kind of fell back on some fun techniques that I maybe don't do as often when I'm not adding a bunch of papers and a bunch of elements. So I got to do a lot of layering and that kind of thing. So I started off thinking I was going to follow here. You can see me trying to figure this out. Thinking I was going to follow Maggie's sketch a little bit closer than I actually do. I was trying to figure out how I could get those 3 pieces of paper that I left at like 12 inches long. I just cut them. I was trying to figure out how I could get them to kind of look like the background paper, this like layer that was in the background that has this sort of, interesting shape to it. And then I decided I already kind of fulfilled that part of the background by having the color blocking and picking that particular paper. That kind of fulfills that part of the layout for me. So I decided, oops, I almost cut it wrong again. Good catch, Jen. Anyway, so I decided I'm just going to take all of these patterns and I'm going to cut them all into banners and make a whole bunch of layers going across the paper. So like really emphasizing all of these different patterns and different kind of shapes. And so I did take a couple of those strips of paper and I cut them down a little bit so I could get the orange on the other side of them. So that is a good glimpse at just how many patterns I have there. And then so I knew I had to use a stencil and I had to use some sort of glaze or paint. And so I grabbed a stencil from Emerald Creek. I will leave my link down below for them with my discount code, so you can go and grab some fun goodies from them. But that's the stencil I used. And then I grabbed a 6x6 piece of paper from Pretty Little Studio. And I just kind of went for something that I thought was sort of bluish and might match the general tones of the papers here, because I couldn't find one that was an exact match for the kind of like teal, orange, or lime green, or any of the colors that were really in these other patterns. So I just went for the blue. I figured I might as well just add that in. And I used some Heidi Swap. It's not... Oh gosh, do you remember when she had those kits she used to come out with, and they would come with sort of like an acrylic texture paste, shimmery paste, and I think this one might have been the silk. It's supposed to be like silk screening, and it was a little kit you could buy, and so that's what I used. So it's not really fully texture paste, but it's a little bit thicker than just plain acrylic paint, and it's fully like super shimmery. That's what I squished through there. It has that really pretty shimmer, which is kind of bouncing off of the camera, but it is actually a lot closer to the blue at the very top of my Studio Calico paper. So I figured that would work really good. So that is my stencil and also my paste, and that 6x6 paper I cut into the 4 little semicircles that are on the sketch. So that's where that kind of came from. I put all of my layers down, all of my banners that I cut out. So I have definitely more than 4 patterns of paper. And then here are my 2 stamps. So just 2 different stamp sets. One is a Gina K, and one, I can't remember what the other one was. But it came in, actually both of them came in sampler packs from Scrapbook and Cards Today a few years ago, though. They are not new. And so I went ahead and stamped those in Scorched Timber. I was kind of thinking Scorched Timber still has this like really nice dark grounding color that works well to, you know, kind of give that little pop that you want with a darker color, especially when all the other colors in here are very kind of more light springy colors, and there is some large kind of white space in some of these papers. So I wanted that darker color, but I felt like it wasn't quite as in your face as my black ink. So it's this like earthy, well, it's Scorched Timber. How else do you explain it? It's like this very earthy, kind of ashy, gray brown. So it's beautiful. I think it's a lovely color. So I used that for my stamping and just stamped a couple of hearts. So that is the 2 stamps. And then I took some more 6x6 papers from the Pretty Little Studio paper pack. I think that paper pack is called Wildflowers, and I have the papers and I have the little like tags and tabs ephemera pack, and then I have the flower ephemera pack all in my kit. So I just pulled that out because it was there, and I'm trying to kill this kit on top of doing all of these different layouts. So I went ahead and pulled a couple pieces out, and that's what I matted all these photos on. And again, you can see here the recipe called for at least 3 photos, and when I was going through my pictures trying to figure out all these pattern papers and what kind of picture or event or series of pictures I could possibly scrapbook with these colors and stuff, I found these Snapchat selfies that I took. That I used to try to do this once a month a couple of years ago, just kind of as a way to document myself every month. And so I still have a few of these left, these like, fun ones. These aren't all taken on the same day. Well, actually, quite a few of them are. But I would just like sit there. Sometimes I would do a couple every day or play with the kids or whatever. And then I just collage them all together. So I was trying to do at least one layout every month with all of these kind of collages of Snapchat filters, which I just think is really fun. So I went ahead and I grabbed all of them from this particular month, which was March 2021, I think. And I wanted to get every single one of them on there. And I got every one except one little lonely picture, which didn't have the greatest filter anyways. I just didn't know where else to put it. So I left that one off. But I matted them all because I thought, more is more. We're going for all that pattern and all those layers. So I matted each individual picture and then I popped them in there. Oh, I also forgot to mention, but you saw I popped up the two thinnest strips or banners that I made. I kind of popped those up just to give a little bit of dimension, a little bit of shadow, because I felt like with all of these layers, everything kind of sitting flat, just it didn't, you didn't read the layers very well. So I popped those up with some foam tape, the Big Mama roll of foam tape from Spiegel Mom Scraps. So I got those on there. And then I went looking through my embellishments because I needed 6 of them. So I have a paper clip. It's that orange arrow. I have stickers. I have little words from Tim Holtz. Well, they're phrases, I guess, from Tim Holtz. I have buttons. I have brads. And eventually on here, I will have little labels. And then I have sequins. So I got all of the, here I'm looking for my extra sequins, but I will have some labels in there too. So I have at least 6 pieces of embellishment or ephemera. And then what is the last thing I think I need? Let's see. I used the sketch. I got the stamps, the photos, the pattern paper, the 5 buttons. So they were part of the embellishments as well. So I kind of overlapped those. Here's my little labels I'm putting in there. I got the 6 different types of embellishments. I took it as 6 different types of embellishments, but it's quite possible that Maggie could also have just meant 6 individual embellishments. So you could read it that way too. I took it as 6 different types of embellishments. The 6x6 papers, I used a stencil. I'm putting on my sequins right here. So it's at least 9 sequins. I've got 12 sequins. I counted. I wouldn't normally do that, but for this one, for this recipe, I went ahead and counted. And then I used the paint from Heidi Swap. So I got everything from the recipe, and that is my layout. This one's kind of different, kind of fun. I love it. And thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please go say congratulations to Maggie and follow through with the hop so you can see how everybody else is using her recipe. And that is it from me. Subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you so much to everybody who has, and to all of my new subscribers. Hello. I love you guys, and I will talk to you again soon. So until next time, happy scrapping. Bye.